Special thank you to Seed and Stone Cidery and Lucky Buzz Meadery for sponsoring the show today. They help to make this show possible and supply us with the occasional beverage when we're out there. They've got 10 taps full of meads and ciders made right there in-house. They've also got all sorts of awesome events going on, including an open mic almost every single Thursday where you can come out and show your musical talent. So all you songwriters out there, stop out and grab a cider or a mead and tell them that the Songwriters Couch and the Patrick Joanne Band sent you. Again, Seed and Stone Cidery right here in Rochester, New York. Go out and visit them and let them know we sent you. Thanks, guys. All right, guys, welcome to the Songwriters Couch, episode 8, the spooktacular episode, which is why I'm wearing this stupid-looking nose on my nose. And on the show today, we've got Kaylin Cervini. Am I saying your last name appropriately?
Yes, you got it.
I always have to ask because I additionally have a very difficult name.
I have no idea how to say your last name, and I've known you for a while now.
It's for anyone that's out there, it's a Joanne, so kind of like Zsa Zsa Gabor. You know, are you too young for Zsa Zsa Gabor?
I have no idea who that is, to be honest.
Yeah, see?
I just always read your name with, like, a Q in it for some reason.
Yeah.
I just assume there's a Q.
I get that a lot, yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, on mail, sometimes they'll put, like, a Q, or they'll change the U to a V, too.
It just, like, seems like it wants to have a Q where the O is, but, like, it's not there, so.
Yeah. It asks for it, really, is what it is. So, but thank you for being on the Halloween show and for dressing up so wonderfully. So what can you say you are? Is this your Halloween costume, or is this
so it's actually funny. I had a Halloween party, and I completely just didn't have time to finish the costume I was intending to do. So I went into my, like, costume wardrobe, and I was like, what should I wear? And I just kind of found, like, some green stuff, and I have a Goosebumps shirt, and I was like, I'm just going to be a Goosebump.
I love Goosebumps.
So I'm a singular Goosebump.
Okay.
Just like fear. And I decided to keep the costume for today so that I didn't have to think anything else up.
I love it. Yeah, I am, I think I said I am, what's his name? Harry Potter dressing up as a clown for Halloween, but it's a little chilly out, so he's got a hat on too.
I see.
Yeah.
It works. We match. No one, in a sense.
I don't think anyone's going along with it. And special guest in the studio today as well. We've got Andrew Gleason. Why don't you come just poke your head in here from Lucky Buzz, and there he is. Is he in there? You get him in the shot. Okay. And Seed and Stone Cidery, and we're drinking some of that. And they're a sponsor of the show. So what do you think of this? This is the mead, right?
Yeah,
Andrew?
Spice mead.
So pumpkin spice mead, kind of drier. And I thought it would be very impromptu for
it's good
today's show.
Yeah,
so.
Pumpkin spice.
Salud. Happy Halloween to those that celebrate. And Kaylin, thanks for coming on the show. It's been a while since I seen you. We were just talking a few minutes before we started here about the last time I got to see you. And apparently you were at what was the name of that thing too? Is the Woof and Wine? Am I mistaken the name of that thing? What was the name of that event that we were at?
I don't really remember. Yeah. I just went because it was like dogs and cider.
Yeah. It was the Pitbull rescue thing. That's what that was.
That makes sense.
But apparently Kaylin was there, and I didn't see you, and you waved to me. I think I had a couple of drinks, to be honest.
Back.
It was another
he thought I was an
cider place.
fan.
Don't hate me. I was at Blue Barn here, but it's just because I was playing the show. Don't worry, Andrew. Don't worry. But before that, we had played a show, I think, together, and I think it was, I don't remember what the venue was here in Rochester.
Probably like Love and Cup, maybe.
Yeah, it might have been. Do you still go and do Love and Cup, like the open mics or anything there?
No. I haven't been there in a while. It's a great place, but it's been a while for sure.
Yeah, you moved out of town too, out of Rochester for a little while, didn't you? Or you've been here though?
No, I've been around. I'm in Rochester a lot actually, but I don't know. I guess I just haven't really been out at the, like singing venues. Yeah, I just haven't really been there. I think COVID kind of like it really slowed my
Your mojo?
my outing as far as just doing live shows.
Yeah.
And then recently I've been doing, a few more, like I did the Pride Fest, and I did...
Yeah, I saw that. There's all sorts of, like, dancers and...
Yes.
Was it hoop artists, or...
So I had Hoopla Troupe up there with me, and they are...
Are you part of that? Do you do the...
I am part of it to an extent. Like, I'm not... Like, I don't hula hoop, so I'm not, like, fully, but, like, I do aerial arts. So... We'll do things together all the time.
What is aerial arts like?
So aerial arts is going to be your, like, the silks that hang in the air.
Oh, yeah.
And, like, the hoops and the trapeze.
I definitely should not be allowed to do that.
Oh, you should try it.
I will fall on my face.
Good thing you have a big nose.
That's right. To cushion myself as I fall.
It'll help.
How'd you get into doing that stuff? That seems...
So, I got into it, and I teach it. I'm an instructor.
Oh, do you?
Yeah, at Aerial Arts
maybe
of
we'll
Rochester.
have to take some classes.
Yeah, you come
What's the
take
name
some
of it?
classes. Aerial Arts of Rochester.
Yeah, so if you're looking to learn some of that stuff, right here, Kaylin can teach you.
Yes.
So when did you get into it? Was it a few years ago? Or?
So I started Aerial Arts because I was throwing EDM shows, and I decided that I thought it was really cool when you saw like aerialists at these shows, and I was like, well, I should just learn how to do it so that I can, do it at my own shows.
Yeah.
Plus, it gave me an excuse to get on the stage, and, I love that.
Yeah.
And it's kind of funny because when I was a kid, I always was like, if my music doesn't take off and I don't become, like, a famous star, I'm going to join the circus. Like, I don't even care if I'm scooping elephant poop, like, whatever it is, I'm going to be in the circus because it's magical, and I just need magic in my life. And it's just funny because I ever so happen to end up doing circus arts as well as music.
The circus, I think, can be both magical and probably awful, especially if you're like traveling with the circus.
Yeah,
I think it can get crazy.
Yeah. I think it depends on the kind of circus. I feel like since not being a kid and learning a lot of things about like the actual circus has not everything's great about it, but the aerial arts aspect for sure.
Would you do like a circus? How do you say that? Circus delay? Cirque du Soleil.
Yeah,
or would you do like one of those down and dirty traveling circuses that have like
both,
all the
either or. I mean, Cirque du Soleil is like the aerialist dream to be part of that company.
I knew something.
Yeah, no, you do. Like that one hits right on the nose. Like that's
wait. Let's cut to on the what? What is it on? On the nose.
On the con nose, specifically.
You're supposed to cut to the close-up.
I'm sorry, it's Harry Potter with the con nose.
So did you ever actually think about joining an actual circus?
So much, I feel like easier said than done, you know. It's so aerial arts in general is like becoming like a very big thing, and I mean, there's some really skilled acrobatics that actually get on these tours, but I have an extra special trick that I do that not a lot of people do. I sing while like hanging off an apparatus, holding somebody else. So I was like this close to getting on AGT with the routine.
Really?
Yeah, I worked with a producer for a few months that was trying to like push me onto the show.
Did you try out for it or anything, or was it?
So I sent in a audition reel, and then somebody reached back, and they're like, "Oh, this is super cool. I really want to work with you." And so, like the first day, she gave me 3 days to get a full aerial routine together. And I work with a partner because that's the person I hold up in the air. So she's like 3 days. Happens to be the same because I throw a charity EDM show every year. So it happens
what is
to
that?
be. I throw a Rave for a Cause. It's actually coming up December 8th.
Oh, awesome.
Yes. So that is, and the EDM artist, Wooly is his name.
Nice.
He plays the show every year because he kind of started it, but he's really big. He plays with, Excision, if people don't know EDM. But he's made it really big, but he still comes back and does the show in Rochester every year because
awesome.
Even though he's grown, it's to give back to the Open Door mission.
Yeah.
And
that's a great
Yeah, it's, helps the homeless, giving back to the community. So my little company, Secret Sound, hosts the event every year.
Nice.
But when I was auditioning, it happened to be the same weekend of that show, same weekend as our aerial arts student showcase as well, which I had 8 students in that show. And then my power ended up going out that weekend, and I had a gig that following Monday, doing art department on someone's music video, and everything was just
See, I'm not the only one that's doing a million things all at once.
Oh no, I think it's the artist lifestyle.
The life of a creative is you're constantly. Andrew, you're kind of the same way. Even though it's like a business he's running, running something like that is the same kind of thing. It's just constantly you're trying to put stuff together. So I know that you also put out a song recently with someone, right? So what's the single that you got out right now?
So Unholy, you can find it on Spotify.
And is it called iTunes, Apple Music, all that
oh
kind
yeah,
of stuff?
it's on all the stuff, right? But I guess we promote Spotify. I feel the most these days. But yeah, it's the cover of Unholy, and I did that with Amanda Lee Piers, and that was definitely a fun project because working with her has been great, honestly.
Yeah. And she was on a similar, America's Got Talent, I think it was The Voice.
The Voice, right? She was on The Voice. So she's really good and has a really unique style, I would say. But I feel like we definitely complement each other when we sing together. So that's been really fun. We've done a show at Roar. We've done a couple Pride Fest together. And so I was like, we should do a cover together. And this seems like a fun one. So yeah.
So when you integrate, is it usually obviously you're not going to be able to play an instrument while you're hanging and holding someone
I've tried.
Singing, right?
I have hung from my knees and played guitar. And sing.
So are you upside? So you're upside down when you're playing guitar?
That one's hard because it's really difficult to.
I don't think you have to say because. You don't have to clarify why that's difficult to do.
It's just it's holding down the guitar itself upside down.
Upside
it's
down.
A weird because it wants to hit you in the face.
Did you have any special straps to you while you were trying to do it?
I haven't really pushed the attempts on this. I kind of just lightly tried it one day. I had to just kind of hold it weird with my arm and squeeze it, give it a good hug while I was upside down trying to play it. But it was unique. I haven't really pressed that skill too much yet. But
yeah, I think probably the closest I've come to that is trying to do a moonwalk once. Maybe while I was, but obviously that's not even close to that kind of thing. I can't dance. I tried to learn waltz. Try to learn. Yeah. I'm all right. Can you dance at all? Are you coordinated in that way?
I always tell people I cannot because it's just not my comfortability zone, I guess. But obviously when we do routines and things like that, I do have to do some dancing or chair dancing we do, which at the Pride show I had the Hoopla Troupe doing the mixture of chair dancing, hula hooping, which I'm all about putting on a good show. That's my thing. So even,
I think audiences now too are definitely looking for more out of a show too. I think once you add stuff like that into it, it definitely draws people into, because I feel definitely you go to a festival or something and you see regular bands playing and stuff like that. If they're known, people can get into it. But I think if there's something else going on during it, it always lends to the entertainment value of it. Maybe I'll have you come out and do some aerial stuff during tricks. One of my shows. I've always thought about integrating something like that, either dance or Abby, who was I haven't had Abby on the show yet, but they're part of a burlesque thing too, and I thought about integrating that somehow into into one of our shows. It's
fun. It really that's kind of my ultimate goal, is just put on a full show.
Do you want to do a theater?
Not exactly. I want to use my music, I suppose. I've even thought about just getting a bunch of local artists and kind of taking all of our different using one of our songs, from each local artist or whoever wants to be part of it, and kind of using it to put together like a storyline, and then have like, all my acrobatic people and kind of make it into a show, like almost like a story, but not maybe like a super like strong storyline, but like still kind of there for interpretation, kind of thing. And
you've done the Fringe Festival, right? Before?
Yes,
Here
yeah,
in Rochester. Did you do it this past year?
So I did it this past year with the Aerial Arts.
So that's the show that you were talking about, right?
So that was so this year we've done a couple. So I did it last year as well. I usually do some sort of singing routine when I perform for that particular
festival.
Yeah. So it's kind of like this year we did like a children's show, and it was about mermaids, and I was a mermaid queen. And then the year before was kind of just like a cabaret in a sense. Like it was like a musical review where it was different songs, but we kind of were like, I was like a bartender, I guess. But then like I came out and did like my little performance, and then and then there was like just like a bunch of different acts kind of put together, but like a similar theme. But it's really fun to watch it. People, if you haven't seen it.
I really love the multimedia thing. We did 2 shows now, 2 or 3. I think it's 3 I've done for the Fringe Festival, and every time it's something similar to kind of what you were talking about, where it's a combination of like a story, almost like it's theater, or musical theater, but it's not really. So I have like my original music baked into it, but there's a story behind it, and it's like a short story. You know what I mean? It's not like a full novel or whatever.
Something that follows like a topic almost, but not necessarily has to be super direct. But either way, I think just incorporating. I'm really like a huge part of my artistry in general is like I love making music videos and coming up with the concepts, and I love putting on a show, like things that make people think or feel, and I think music in general does that. But when you can really kind of make it visual for people, it hits that much more.
Do you tend to think about, when you're writing songs, like the whole visual experience of it too, or does it come to you a little bit differently?
I think it depends. So there's 2 songs I've put out that are really, I guess, strong between the music video and the song itself. And so people know that I like have a girlfriend, and like I came out with a song called Like a Girl, and I had written that song in the beginning of mine and her relationship. And it's basically just being like, I never meant to like a girl, and kind of like the experience of figuring out that I could have feelings for.
That happens to me every time. Just to let you know, Kaylin, it's every time. How can I possibly?
How possibly? But yeah, so I kind of wrote the song about that, and I had this like, I don't know. In my head, I knew. I was like, I cannot tell anybody until I release this song, because I'm an artist and I need to go big. And, it took a while to get the song done.
So that was like a coming out kind of song?
So it took me maybe like a year to get the song.
Was that scary for you? To do that a little bit?
I was definitely ready by the time of the release, because like I said, like it took about a year between recording the song and then doing the music video for the song. And so by the time we released it, I was like, she was kind of like, just keeping it a secret kind of.
So she knew that it was about her?
Oh yeah, like I had sent this song was like part of our relationship, like me sending her the song, being like, oh, I wrote this about you. But then everyone, like, we had a couple like tight unit friends that were kind of both of our friends that did know, and I showed them the song, and it was like, oh, I'm gonna cry because it's so cute. And I was like, this song, I'm like, I gotta do something special with it. So it was how I came out to like the majority of my friends and my family, and it was just like I kind of promoted the song. And that was what was so fun about the art of it, is that when even the photographer, I told her that I wanted a song I have a song called Like a Girl, and the image I'm looking for in these photographs is something that kind of like is about more like being super girly, or like that image or that aspect that people have where like you have to be like super girly about things. So even when I told the photographer, which the reason I didn't tell her what it was really about is because I wanted to have this image where it was just like about being a girl, like, you know, being all dramatic with my long nails and like sparkles and my little princess crown and my tutu that I had in the photos. And that's how I promoted it, which was why it was really fun when it's like, okay, this is what people expect. But then I released the song in the music video and it's like, I never meant to like a girl. And like we had like this closet that we built, and like it opens up at the end and it has all my like things, like my actual things from childhood.
Oh, no shit.
So like, yeah. And
like what are a couple of things from?
Like
a teddy bear, I'm guessing.
So I have like I'm thinking Teletubby, but that is not accurate.
Teletubby.
Those little fluffy like gremlins, what are they called? I'm like having a mind block. Furby, thank you.
Oh, Furby.
Yeah, so I had my Furby in there, my American Girl doll.
You probably weren't. You're probably not old enough for Care Bears, right? Care Bears are probably before you remember Care Bears, right?
I do know what Care Bears are because my older cousin had Care Bears.
I used to have with the rainbow guy, like a little rainbow on his stuff.
Yeah,
it's like
Care
a light
Bears are
blue.
cute.
I love that thing.
So, but yeah, so everything about like that song and that release, and like between the photos, music video, how it was released, it was very like thought out. And was like a really artistic project for me. Another one I'll just kind of quickly go over is my Naked song and video. That song I had been terrified to release because it says fuck me in it. And at the time, I feel like especially you weren't hearing that quite as much in music as what you are now. And at least when I wrote it. And so even like, you know, my producer on it was like, are you sure you want to go this way? Like it kind of says something about you.
Let me say something though. So it's very, especially if your primary source of income when you first start out making music and being an entertainer and doing that sort of stuff, you know, and you have a day job and you have all this and you're releasing music, sometimes it's very like personal and very vulnerable stuff. But in addition to that, sometimes you want to say things that maybe are a little risque, let's say, or whatever, right? There can be this fear to put that stuff out there because you don't know how people are going to necessarily react, especially maybe your employers or things like that. So you tend to like hold back a little bit, but you ended up going forward with it, I would assume, right?
Yeah. Well, that was the thing. So especially after hearing that from like my producer, like, are you sure? I'm like, he's like, it's not something I'd want my daughter to listen to. And I was like, well, I think that's why I need to do it, because it's kind of just like breaking that, like, I don't know, that boundary of like, it's okay to be like a little promiscuous even sometimes, or like, you know, just honest, like we're human. And so that's what I made the music video about, was just like, we all kind of like label each other and give each other this image based on like one piece of information or one fact that we assume, and everyone in the music video like kind of writes on each other's foreheads whenever like they see them, and we're getting everyone's kind of assumptions and thoughts. And in the video, like I end up like everyone's writing like basically like slut, fat, whatever all over me, and I kind of like get up at the end of the music video and I walk out naked, basically. Like obviously you don't see anything in the video, but walk out naked.
Were you actually like,
when I filmed it, I did have to film it naked.
were you like
I mean, so we had like the majority of the people there look away, but
did you catch a couple of side eyes?
No, I think they were just like, yeah, we'll look away. Like they were like, yeah, we're not gonna look. But like obviously some of the film guys had to
obviously
be looking.
It's a video, right?
But sometimes to get like that like image, you actually have to do things naked.
So let me ask you this, because I know the first song that you were talking about, Like a Girl, you know, is about someone specifically, right? But when you write music, at least when I write music too, you tend to think about the audience at large that's going to be listening to it, right? So while you want to be, I guess, specific to the experience that you're having, you also want people to be able to, let's say, relate to it, right? Did you take any artistic leeway with, I guess, the writing of it to make it more
So actually, since you brought up Like a Girl too, there is a specific line in that song, and it's hard to have this conversation like so one of the lines was, they say it's not a choice, but for me it is. And when you hear that, like a lot of people, especially in the LGBTQ community, it can sound very, I guess, not correct if you don't understand what it means to me. And so even when I wrote it, now that line means a lot to me, but when I wrote it, I had a couple friends that did know, and, my girlfriend, of course, and I was like, does this line bother you? Because if it comes off incorrect, I don't want to keep it in the song. But what it meant to me was that being somebody that could, like, I like men as well. So being somebody that didn't have to, I started realizing I was having feelings for, a woman. And so I'm not someone that had to follow that pathway. Like, I could have chosen maybe not following my heart, but chosen like the easier like pathway out of it. And it doesn't change like that. I don't have the choice about who I have feelings for, who like those feelings develop for. That's not what that means, which was what I was worried it was going to come off as. But what it means is that for me, I didn't have to follow this pathway. I chose to, and it does change things for my life and what that means for me. And it would have been easier in some ways in my life to have not followed that route, but I'm very happy that I did, because I'm in a very happy relationship.
I didn't want to ask, but you're still with
we're
individual
still together.
Now that you alluded to it, that's good.
No, it was great.
Full Wi-Fi protected.
That's okay.
But basically, I asked, I did try to get some approval from people out of the queer community, just because I wanted to make sure that I wasn't saying something that could potentially be insulting. But when I released the song, there were a few people on the internet that did comment and ask about it. And I think once I explained what it meant, they were like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. But it definitely was something that I was worried about. But ultimately, it's really important to me to stay true in my music. And
so I'll tell you this, and again, I think, as I grow older, I'm in my late teens now. No, I'm in my almost mid 40s now. But when you're honest about how you feel, and you're honest about who you are, and you just are who you are, there's going to be people that take or are offended by what you do or don't like what you're doing. But ultimately, it's not. As I get older, it's not their life to choose what makes you happy or what's going to give you fulfillment. So I think that as I grow older, I don't think it's while you want to kind of think about that, I'm just me. And I think, Kaylin, you're a wonderful person. So just being you, I think, brings more to the world, whether or not, someone is going to think that that's, that offends them or not, I think is inconsequential. I think that you being the honest version of you is probably the best thing that you could bring to the world. So, and while, you obviously you want to make sure you're not saying things or whatever that are blatantly disrespectful. I think being authentically you is probably the best thing that you can do in life, and it's just something I've learned over time to stop worrying about as much.
Yeah, and I definitely think, for me personally, I'm definitely kind of a people pleaser, and I do try to, but I also do believe that there are some things too as we get older that come forth, and like people are expressing how they feel something or like why they feel something, and it's easy when you haven't lived something to not fully be able to understand it. Like, I'm a firm believer that regardless of what it is in life, like we try to make decisions, even when it comes to politics, about why we believe in something. But if we haven't actually experienced something that directly relates to it ourselves, it can be hard to 100% be understanding, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. So I try. But I do believe in being yourself, and I did keep that line because what it meant to me was really important for the meaning of the song.
Do you feel now, like after releasing some of those songs, you had like the experience with the one song, like the "fuck me" line in there, right, where you've expressed it, and then from experience, I guess, nothing really bad happened by me expressing myself kind of honestly, right? I mean, I guess maybe you had a little bit of pushback on it, right? But do you find yourself being more and more open to, being authentically,
my music,
you and your music now?
So when I started writing, like I had tried writing as a kid and it just wasn't really hitting, and it was a really like tragic loss in my life that caused me to start writing. So in general, my music has developed from like some of the hardest, like most vulnerable pieces of my life. And so I feel like in general, I've always stayed pretty true and honest in what I write. But I think, I don't know, I feel like in general, I'm always going to be a little bit making sure that I understand what I'm saying, because I think that sometimes artists do put out music that even recently there's been songs that have been quite controversial. And the reason that they're controversial is because although like the artist, might say, no, it means this, it means that. Sometimes you can't, there's a truth in what they're saying, and if they don't fully understand what they're saying, how it affects people, I think it's partially your job in a sense to understanding what your words mean to those that are listening at the same time. Because regardless, at the end of the day, like regardless what you do mean with what you're trying to say, if they can be like construed to mean something completely different for like the vast majority of people listening to it, that's not, I don't want my music to mean something to people that it doesn't mean. Like I want my songs to hit people and for them to be able to feel and understand what I do mean, because if it means anything else that I'm not like, supportive of myself, then I wouldn't want that to happen either. And that's why like with that song I did ask my queer friends like what they felt about the line and if it made sense and if it was something I should keep or not, because if it did come off in a way that it wasn't intended to the vast majority at least, or if it wasn't something that I could explain and know that people would truly understand, it's not something I would have wanted to keep. I
had I forget which guest in the last few episodes I talked about this with, but part of your job as a communicator and as like a songwriter or whatever, because you're trying to communicate to large amounts of people or whatever, it's never the listener's job to. So you can't think of it when you're communicating for the listener should understand what you're saying. It's your job as the communicator to be able to portray, right, what you mean. And I brought about some quote from Tony Robbins, of all people, right, the motivational speaker. And he said, I forget if it was in like a speech he did or something, he was talking about when you're in a relationship with someone and you say, I love you, if your method of saying I love you is like kicking the person in the face, right, and you're like, why don't they understand that I'm saying I love you by kicking you in the face, by kicking them in the face, right? It's not their fault that they're not getting I love you from that thing. It's your job to change the way you're communicating in order to get your message across to the, to people. So what? No. Kicking people in the face, but that's what he had said, and he's like, so you have to change the way you're communicating in order to actually appropriately get your, your message across. So that's, I think, kind of what you're saying is that you want to understand what the understanding is of what you're, what you're communicating. Yeah. So when I know I don't have to get into all the details of why you started writing, but when did you actually start writing music and songs?
So I started when I was a teenager, not to go into the full story just because of time and whatnot, but my cousin was shot and killed, and Jesus. We were the same age, we were very close, and that was obviously it's still hard for me, but I'm such a baby about it.
Were you already a musician before?
I always was a singer, and I was trying to learn guitar, and I was trying to learn how to write music, but the first full song I wrote came because a teacher actually sent me a quote that says we must embrace pain and burn it as fuel for our journey. So the song was actually called Burn It Up based off of that quote. And
you wrote it, did you write it on guitar?
Mm-hmm. And I wrote it on guitar, and it kind of led me on this whole journey of using my music to help people, because after I wrote that song, I was just able to write, and I, did definitely write a lot of music at the time about what had happened and like the experience and going through it. Just because there was like a lot, like there was like a trial and there was just so much.
Yeah.
So there's a lot. But
did you ever release that?
I
song?
did, but it was when I was much younger. So, I did it with like an album that I just recorded at home. And so like the album itself isn't anything great. Like it's just like a home, teenager recorded, little album that I didn't really know what I was doing recording wise. But I definitely feel like,
what were you recording on? Did you record on a computer?
So my dad had some random like equipment. There was like one of those, like, I don't even know, like I literally don't know what anything is, but it's like one of those
like
boards.
4-track?
Yeah, that you like just plug in and then you can kind of change the levels and then
was
like,
it a cassette
sing over
deck?
it.
Like a cassette in there, or was it a digital?
No, I believe it was hooked up to the computer. I literally don't even barely know what I was doing, but I did do it, and I had like, harmonies, like one of my friends came in, and I also I love harmonizing, so I like a lot of that just had like harmonies all over the place that I had kind of just, thrown in there, but yeah, no, I ended up, so some other young girl ended up dying, like a month later, and my aunt had given her mom a copy of the song, and she ended up, maybe I gave it to her, I don't know, but she met with my aunt to like talk, just because they both lost kids like at the same age, and she told my aunt that she was listening to it every day and singing to it, and so that's like kind of how I
so you were like, oh, I liked that feeling of
I knew
being able to,
like it was like my kind of like mission, I guess, or job to like help people with my music. So I ended up giving like motivational speeches for a while, like in like high school classrooms, just about like how to overcome the hard things that might happen in life, or just like whatever it is that you're dealing with. Kind of using art and whatnot was like the theory, I suppose. And so I've just kind of, I don't do that quite as much as what I once did, but at the end of the day, like my music, like when I write it, even if it is something that sounds more promiscuous, there's usually some sort of like deeper meaning, or like a reason that maybe empowers me or made me feel empowered in the moment. And I just want my music to be something that lets people know that they're not alone in whatever it is that they're feeling or, going through. And even now, like my brother, he's been in the hospital for over a year, and like so many things. I have such a hard time when it comes to talking about my music and where it came from, because like where it comes from really is like,
but I think that's a good thing. And I think that you have that's why music is so powerful for people to listen to, because if it comes from an emotional place, there's a lot of people out there that also have those feelings and have felt that stuff. So if they can relate to something that you're doing, I think it makes people feel not alone, right? And I think that if you write, which I kind of want to get into too, like how you go about writing a song, right? Where that comes from, that sort of thing. I kind of asked that of most of the guests here on the show. But like, I think if it comes from some place that's raw and emotional, I think those are the best. That's the best music, right? Those are the best songs. Yeah. So do you sit down and intentionally go to write something, or does it kind of just come from, let's say you have an experience and you're like, I need to write something about that. Like, how do you approach your songwriting? I
would say like it's kind of a mixture of both. I'll get this, like when I'm ready to write something, I just like feel it, and it might not even be like I know what I'm going to write about specifically, but I just like know inside, like I think it's just like having some sort of energy that you need to get out. And so usually I'll just, whether it's piano or guitar, I'll sit down and I just kind of start playing.
So you play piano too?
Yeah.
I try. I'm not a good piano player.
I don't know that I'm a fantastic guitar player or keyboard player. However,
or singer myself.
I think, but that's the thing when you're an artist, like as long as it's more than just being a fantastic guitar player or a fantastic keyboard player or a fantastic singer. Like it's so much more than that. It's it's about like what you put together and what we're talking about, how it makes people feel. But yeah, for me, I'll just kind of sit down and like whatever comes out of my mouth, kind of like whatever like the feeling is that's like on the guitar or on the piano. And it's usually some sort of projection of what I'm feeling in that moment.
Do you usually start with the instrumental parts of it, or do you start with the lyric and then add music to it?
Typically, the instrumental is what I start with, because that just kind of gives me like I start kind of like the melody will come out of it first, and then maybe like a line that I like, and then I'm like, okay. And then by the time I get to the verses, now I just like know what I'm trying to say, and like can like just kind of throw the words in. And
do you do the mumble thing where you're writing something and you just kind of mumble stuff for a little bit, and then kind of a line ends up coming out of it, and then you flesh
usually
I'm trying to normalize that so people know that that's a normal thing to do when they're writing songs.
No, it totally
that's how I write too.
It totally is, but I also think it depends. Like there has been times where I have just kind of written lyrics, but the problem for me for doing that is like a lot of time it just doesn't fit right once you try to put it onto the music, I feel like a lot of times. So I feel like having like the music with it really sets it in stone, but it really depends. But for the most part, it's just kind of grab an instrument, see what melody happens, and then pretty much immediately I don't take a long time to write. Once I start writing, like I am like, it's out, it's going to be finished within 2 times of me. Sometimes I do have to take a break, and I'm like, all right, my brain's had enough right now. I'm going to come back to this in, a day or two. But for the most part, it's just like, I just finish it right away.
Were any of your family members musicians and stuff?
Yeah. So my dad I grew up and he was a high school band teacher. So he plays pretty much every single instrument except for he really doesn't play drums. But we had, a piano, like a grand piano in our house. We had a music room, and did he let you go in there and mess around when you were younger? Yes, and you would think I would be a much better piano player or guitar player than what I am, because he is so absolutely talented. However, I think it's a lot easier said than done to learn from your parent, and I think that's one mistake in general that I feel like parents, when they have a skill, they try to teach their kids, and sometimes it works out great for people, but I feel like a lot of the times it works out best to have a different teacher for that, because it's hard sometimes. You're kind of at this battle. So it was really hard, I think, to actually learn from him, but he was there for me when I needed. If I was I don't know how to play this chord, he'd be like, it's this, and he'd show me. Oh, and plus he's a music teacher, so it's probably actually excellent to be able to show you exactly. My dad's a guitar player too, so I was always around musicians. My older brother was a musician. Both of them much better guitar players than me. They know all the technical stuff. I couldn't tell you sometimes what are the chords I'm coming up with, right? But I watched it. I'll tell you this. You guys know the band Nirvana? You ever heard of the Nirvana? Never heard of them.
You ever heard of the Nirvana?
No idea.
The Kurt Cobain. So there's some interview I just saw recently on those YouTube Shorts thing or whatever, and it's him talking about being they were oh, how does it feel to be the biggest rock musician, whatever, and right now, and whatever. He's I don't even know what the chords I'm playing are. I don't know what they are. He's I know less than every single musician that I know. But he ended up being probably one of the most prolific songwriter, the most important songwriters of that era, just because he was writing stuff just from pure emotion, almost. I think that. I don't know if his family had musicians in it, but I tend to find people that are musicians now, in their current lives, their family had, there's always music kind of around them. It was a language that was being spoken. Was your mom a musician too? Or?
So I was laughing. My mom played some piano, and she would sing a little bit. My dad also sings, and my mom wasn't into it the way that my dad is, but she still did a lot. And our family is the kind of family that would, be getting like a pudding out of the fridge and like singing and harmonizing about it kind of thing. Like a little bit of a musical, just, I don't know.
Did you say getting pudding out of the fridge?
Yeah, like I say that one specifically because I remember me and my brother like singing a pudding song, like getting pudding out of the fridge. And it's
Can you remember it?
No, I really don't remember. I just know we kind of were laughing because it was just so typical, but it's just still funny at the same time that like we're like, yeah, we're actually doing this right now. Like we're singing about taking the pudding out of the fridge because we apparently were really excited about eating it.
So what? So you've got the unholy cover, right? What do you have anything else that's upcoming maybe that we can kind of talk about and get people interested in what what's coming up for you here?
This hasn't been like hugely announced yet actually at all because I'm just not at that phase of the process with it yet, but not to like get back into it, but my brother, so he had a brain injury and he went to the hospital and we weren't sure if he was going to live, and he hasn't like done. There's actually one song of mine that I think you can find it on SoundCloud, but I don't even remember actually if it's on there still, to be honest. So don't take my word for that. But I think it is though. So I did like an original album more around the time that we were actually performing together, and it's called On My Way. My brother actually wrote that song, and I liked it so much, and it was like the first song he wrote, but I liked it so much I was like,
is your brother older?
I need this. He's younger by 2 years, by one day.
So you guys played music together too then?
So that's the thing. So he doesn't like, he lightly plays guitar. He's like written like that one song that was like really good. He has like this talent inside of him that he's never really like fully taken advantage of. But so he had written, he was starting to write a song, and he had sent me the like melody to the chorus just like on a cell phone recording. Yeah. And he was like, what do you think of this? And I was like, that's fun. Just, you gotta finish it. But when he went into the hospital and he wasn't like fully there, I would, like he really wasn't there at all, but I would, play his, like I found the track in my phone, like I looked through my text messages for it, and I would put it in his ear, and like whenever I played it, like his eyes would move, and it was like he liked it. We're like, okay, he likes when I play this for him because he like listening to himself, which I can't blame him, Sometimes it's nice to listen to yourself. Yeah. But so it was just funny, and I decided, I was like, you know what, I'm gonna finish the song for him, and I took it to. So I work with Sam Plizzi and Johnny Cummings a whole lot.
Nice.
And they produce my songs for the most part. So I was like, is it possible to take this phone recording and possibly put it into a song if I finish it, and maybe like distort it to make it like work, radio quality? And they're like, yeah, we can figure something out. So I finished the song. But then my brother was basically a miracle, and he, came back to being him, which was excellent. Everyone was telling us wasn't going to happen, but he's still in the hospital, and he's working on trying to walk, and he's pushing through it, but because he is able to talk and be him, he actually was able to get into the recording studio and sing the part in the song himself, and then I'm singing like the other parts of it.
That's amazing.
So I'm not going to like go into all the details about the song, but it's kind of...
but that's going to be something you'll be...
Yeah, for sure, coming out with.
That's amazing.
I think it's going to be... It's just like another like song that just means a lot to me, because it's, talking about that, experience where you don't know what's going to happen, and it's just like this need to have faith. And having no option, or like there's nothing you can do except for like when all is the worst it can get, like it can only go up. And I guess that kind of was my thought while writing it, at the very least.
Yeah.
So
music's amazing too. Like you said, when you were holding your phone up and listening to music, has this way of like breaching barriers of things somehow, like magically.
No, it totally does. And so I'm excited for that song to be, because it's different. It's got a different tone to it, just because it's based off something I didn't personally write.
Yeah. So did you integrate, like, is it his song written and then or is it you've integrated like that recording somehow into your song?
So we didn't end up keeping the recording itself because he ended up being able to sing on it, but we did base the writing off of it because we thought initially that we were going to have to use this recording. So it's based around this melody that he had originally written, which ends up being like the chorus of the song. But then like the verses are where I sing and where I take kind of lead is for that part of the song. And it's kind of like supposed to be from like two different viewpoints almost, like, you know, him kind of being in, you know, this la la land at the moment, and me like being like, you know, on the kind of skirts of it, singing about that, which again, that'll be another conversation once the song is actually out. But
well, I'm excited to hear.
Yeah, I'm definitely excited about it. I know it's going to be a lot of work before it actually comes out because it's one that I'm probably going to want to do a music video for. Don't, you know, take my word for that right now because who knows. But
I end up a lot of times I end up doing like lyric videos for stuff because I just don't. I have no desire to be on camera, even though I'm on camera all the fucking time, Kaylin.
I get that highly.
To do like the music video thing. But let me ask you this. So one, go download Unholy, or is it even downloading now? Streaming, right?
You can stream Unholy. It's me and Amanda Lee Pierce, and you can find it on Spotify or any of the other fun streaming sites that you like to use. It's even on YouTube, so check that one out for sure.
Yeah, and then let's say I asked this of everyone that kind of comes on. So if you were going to give advice to, let's say, a young songwriter, someone just starting out in the, let's say, music industry, or swinging from ropes and hoops and the like, what advice I guess would you give to someone out there in the world just starting to kind of express themselves?
Unfortunately, I would say definitely, like, people, I feel like as musicians and artists hate the fact that we have to use social media to promote ourselves. But right now, it's one of the best ways to kind of get heard, especially the good old TikTok. And it's hard. It's hard. But if you can look at your music, I feel like as more of like a business and like, you know, how you're marketing yourself, I think not forgetting to do that is really important. I feel like had I understood that better myself when I was younger, that like my social media would be a little bit more poppin', and maybe I'd be further than where I am right now. But to me, I think that's just like, it's like a huge thing not to forget. You do have to put yourself out there and be creative and think outside the box when it comes to how you're going to promote yourself, because promoting yourself is a huge aspect in that regard. But if you're not trying to get heard, which I don't think is quite usual for a music artist, right, then, you know, just have fun and be yourself and be authentic, which I think you should be doing either way.
Yeah, and I think that ends up coming across, but you're absolutely correct. Like getting out there and social media, I struggle with that so much, like wanting to be on there. The only reason I'm on like Facebook and all that, like Instagram and all that stuff, is because of the music stuff. You know, I want my music to be out there and people to be able to hear it. In order to do that, you've got to do all that sort of thing. So I struggle with it too, Kaylin. So I appreciate that you're on board with me. Yeah, doing that. What's your least favorite part of the social media thing?
It gets really stressful because, for example, TikTok. So I was doing really well. Like I had like 150,000 views on one of my videos, and everything I was posting was getting like a minimum of like 5,000 views if it was something like minute. And then it's like if you go like 3 days without posting, you're like, oh, here's 200 views.
Yeah, all of a sudden it disappears.
Or you post something that isn't like in your like realm, like. So my TikTok kind of blew off because of like the Like a Girl song. So everything is really like queer, LGBTQ oriented. And if I just post anything that's like just me singing or me doing aerial, like something really cool that takes like skill and talent, TikTok, we're not showing anybody because you're not like talking about how gay you are. And so like, and that can be a really frustrating aspect of it. But again, I guess that's just learning. Those
algorithms,
I'll
tell you.
It's learning the tool though. And if you start off, I think, strong in the beginning and you're like, I'm a musician, this is what I do, I'm just putting music videos up, you can get a following from that, but you just have to keep posting. But I think the stress of trying to figure out, like, oh, I got to make a TikTok. And then, like, I literally got to a point where I was, like, depressed because I couldn't think of, like, a TikTok to make. And then I just wasn't making them. So it can be hard, like, on yourself. And I feel like a lot of people that do try to get into it that are just musicians do have that struggle.
There's a thing about, like, so I think nowadays people want to see kind of the personal aspect of what you're doing too. So like the TikToks or the videos on social media and wherever else you're posting it is important. And for a lot of musicians, they're kind of introverts except when they're on stage. And so to like share your kind of like your actual life and what you're doing on a daily basis is really tough. Like everyone, my band tells me, oh, you should do like, a video every day of just like I hate selfies. I hate pointing the camera at myself and doing that, but it's a necessary evil to like get what you want to communicate across to people, right? In order for people to hear it, you kind of got to do that stuff. So that's amazing advice to give people. I mean, I don't want to push people more towards social media, but unfortunately, like you said, it's a tool that it's a necessary evil,
It is what it is, truthfully.
So, Kaylin, let me ask you this. What are you going to do for Halloween this year? Anything good?
Oh, no, unfortunately, I am working.
All right.
However, I think that everyone should go, if they're not working, like I am hugely adamant on adult trick-or-treating. I know like other people are going to hate me for this, but honestly, like go out, put on like a mask so no one knows how old you are, and like a full costume, and just go get candy. And it feels great. Like, it's, like, so exciting. Like, you don't even need the candy. Like, I don't know. Give it to the kids after you're done. Yeah. But honestly, like, it's just fun to go play the doors and pretend.
I got to talk to you, Andrew, too, because I always wanted to do, like, an adult trick-or-treating thing, but, like, go from, like, bar to bar, have, like a hayride that goes down, a particular road. And then you go stop at every bar and you go trick-or-treat and they give you, like, a shot of whiskey or something.
I really enjoy the hayride aspect of that. Yeah. Like, I feel like they do, like, bar crawls for Halloween probably, but like if you add like the hayride like that's like a solid selling point, honestly.
I agree.
You don't have to walk, you just get to sit there, drink, then get out, get another drink, sit back down, like that's honestly.
Yeah. So I like it. And I usually, what I like to do is I like to give out full size, and then I think last year I did king size. I tried to do king size.
You got like the house that everyone wants to go to.
I just try and keep stepping it up. So now I'm going to have to give out like cases of candy. Every kid's going to have like a bag that's just dragging on the floor behind them.
They'll appreciate it. I'm telling you, get out there and go put a mask on.
Being that this is the spooktacular episode, what's your favorite candy?
Ooh.
If you were to get one trick-or-treating.
My favorite candy.
I'm a Snickers guy.
I don't know. Honestly, I'm going to answer the question, and then later I'm like, that is not my favorite candy, like, at all. I really, obviously, like, who doesn't like people that don't like peanut butter really freak me out, but unless they're allergic, that's different. That's totally different if you're allergic. But I think they still, like, want peanut butter. They're just like, I can't have it. Sorry, folks, if you're one of those. But, obviously, like Reese's, but you have to like have like the ghost or like the pumpkin, like those are really good. Yeah. Like I'm definitely a big fan of that, but I'm kind of like, I don't know, is stingy the right word? I don't know when it comes to chocolate, because like I went to Amsterdam one time, and like chocolate in Europe is like different levels.
It's a whole different animal.
It's like you really can't make the comparison.
They don't pasteurize the milk there. Like you can get unpasteurized milk, and then they make the chocolate with that milk.
Their cocoa beans actually also come from a different.
Oh, is it like
area.
A different?
Yeah, we get ours from one place. They get theirs from. I don't know if that's like the biggest difference. I think it's like definitely has to do with milk content versus sugar content. But either way,
delicious.
Like whatever they're doing over there.
What's your Halloween episode? What's your favorite candy, Andrew?
Probably Three Musketeers, actually.
Get out.
I agree. Like, you need to leave only now. Who says that?
Just nougat?
Yeah, sorry, man.
I think that's a sign of a psychopath. If you like Three Musketeers. No, I do like a Three Musketeers, but I treat it like the vegetable on the plate when I get a bunch of candy. You know what I mean? Like if it doesn't have caramel and nuts. Yeah, it's like I shove it in.
No, I think Three Musketeers might be worse than Milky Way, though. Like,
oh, really?
Yeah, because Milky Way, like, at least there's like some, I don't know.
Yeah, there's some caramel.
Yeah, Three Musketeers are weird.
I got you, though. You ever make a s'more with a Three Musketeers?
Oh, I hate when people do that. I don't like to.
You take like a miniature and then you put a marshmallow in.
I can't do it. That's like when people use like Oreos or Reese's in there too, and I just want like a plain s'more, like an OG s'more. Like that is all I need. Like we don't need to be crazy here.
We can be friends that you like s'mores because that's one of my favorite. What's your favorite candy?
Paydays. You know that.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, surprisingly, yeah, it's got like the salty nuts on the outside, and it's without. That's right. Without the chocolate on the outside, you would think, oh, I'm going to miss that, but you really don't because there's so much salt on the outside. It's good stuff.
Yeah, I think it's like the candy like that really surprises you when you go trick or treating. It's like the thing that you've got like the least of.
Yeah.
Usually
yeah,
that I feel like you're like, oh, like I got one of these. Like I don't even know what it would be, but you're like, this is great. I'm like really excited. I got this. I don't know. I'm telling you, go trick or treating.
All right, so let's do this. I'm guessing you have a. Do you have a website?
No.
No website. So why don't we spell your name out so that at least people can Google.
Okay. You can spell my name out. I mean, I'll spell my name out for you. It's Kaylin, and then the last name is Cervini, Cervini.
Yeah, so go Google. There's plenty of music out there. Yep, Spotify, Apple Music.
Yeah, it's literally on everything.
Bunch of music videos, I'm assuming, on YouTube there, right?
Yeah, there's music videos. I highly recommend checking those out because I take those quite seriously. I love creating music videos. So if there's any like artists around that are like, I need a music video.
Oh, so
fun.
you help create them. I might have to employ you to help me with that.
I like doing concepts for them, like figuring out an idea, and then like doing the art for them.
We're going to have to talk too, because I do have something that I was going to work on for Fringe Festival this year that we didn't release, but your makeup actually reminded me of it, and it's called The Marionette. And so maybe we'll have to talk about that because I've got some ideas and it's kind of like half written already. So, and it's theater with music and that sort of thing. Maybe we can work together next year on something. So, Kaylin, thank you so much for coming on this crazy, spooktacular show.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you, everyone, for listening. And if you could, please go down, comment, subscribe, all that stuff for our YouTube listeners. Andrew, thank you for coming on the show and bringing us this delicious cider and mead. I haven't tried the Wild Ferment, but I'm going to chug this as soon as we're off air here. And you're welcome to stick around, Kaylin. I really need to try it. So. Yeah, we'll do it. Maybe we'll drink some whiskey too. And it's going to get crazy up in here. Maybe we'll have to order some Paydays and some Milky Way. And I'm being told by my gorgeous producer to shut the hell up now and end the show. But go ahead and comment, subscribe. It really helps when you do that. Kaylin, again, thank you for being on the show. I really appreciate it. Check out all the music that she's got out there on all those platforms. It's really great what you're doing, and I appreciate like the multimedia stuff. It's brilliant. Thank you, everyone, for listening, and we'll see you on whatever the next episode is. And bye, guys.